PlayStation 6 was long rumored to be arriving in 2027.
But with recent memory shortages, you could be waiting a lot longer than that.
Let's talk about it. Didn't we just do an episode about AI ruining the world?
I feel like this is every week now.
For context, we are recording this on the Thursday, and so yes, we will be talking about the Bluepoint closure as well. But the episode we were originally always going to do was going to be about these rumors and reports that PlayStation is going to be pushing back the release of the new console, the PlayStation 6. It's been long rumored that it would be in 2027, and now because of memory shortages, we're looking at 2028. 2029.
Yeah, like you said, it's long rumored based on some reports, but also Sony's typical cycle is 6 to 7 years. So with that in mind, looking at when the PlayStation 5 was released, it should have been next year.
Yeah.
But given what's going on, it's going to be, or it could be a lot longer than that.
So there's a bunch of different things to talk about with this story. Number one is the fact that there was a YouTube channel, Moore's Law is Dead. They had a report that alleged that Sony was looking to keep hardware costs down. Matthew Ball's report came out this week where it's like basically, there are new game players. All the people who want to play games are kind of there. You're all just fighting for the same attention, except you're also competing with TikTok and OnlyFans, not against other consoles and games, which is an interesting and fascinating thing that maybe we'll talk about in a later episode. Basically that they want to keep that price competitive when it comes to the PlayStation 6. And it turns out that a global memory shortage won't let that happen.
Yeah, the global semiconductor shortage, it's having, I think everyone's basically talked about it in all respects now, it's having a knock-on effect on everything, but it's to do with AI. Like the semiconductors and the companies that like OpenAI, Google for Gemini, etc., they are hoarding all this stuff because the DRAM, they need DRAM to process all the AI stuff. There's only like 3 companies that are good at making that kind of RAM to scale. Samsung being one of them, and a few others as well.
Companies like Tesla are like, well, we'll just make our own RAM, it's fine.
Easier said than done.
Easier obviously said than done, but we are seeing the knock-on effects of this shortage. We already had Valve come out in a blog post and say, hey everyone, you know that Steam machine that we said was gonna ship in Q1? Just kidding. It's gonna ship at some point.
It's gonna be interesting because the question that you asked earlier was like, do we need one? I think there's an expectation that they need from a business side that they need to refresh it to keep the momentum going. But as a consumer, I don't feel fulfilled with my PlayStation 5 currently at all. I can think of maybe like 3 or 4 standout gaming experiences, and I just don't feel like it's earned its keep currently.
To that point, PlayStation 5 launching at the end of 2020 with Demon's Souls, with Miles Morales, and it just set the world on fire, especially when you compare it to the Xbox Series, which has been falling behind in terms of sales. This generation has been, in a way, disappointing, I think, in terms of release schedule. Like, we've made this joke before, but how many times are you going to release stuff like The Last of Us and now God of War and whatever? Closing studios, canceling projects. Like I said, we are recording the day that Bluepoint is being closed down.
Which is unacceptable. That team deserves so much better. And you know, like they were reportedly working on a God of War live service game, which if I had to place money on whether they wanted to do that or not, it would be definitely not. We did an audio logs about Shadow of the Colossus remake, which is incredible. The intelligence and the techniques that they put to use on remaking those games. And I personally loved the Demon's Souls remaster and was hoping that we're doing more or whatever it may be. But to your point, I do wonder, because one of the big issues that the games industry has faced, and it's particularly visible with Sony, is the protracted nature of development times. It takes so long for us to get games that, you know, most developers, Sony first party, release 1 or 2 games an entire console cycle. And I think the strength of Sony's most memorable consoles, the PlayStation 2, was how much variety there was, how quickly people were making games for it, how many games there were. Do you think that this will be one of those situations where companies are forced, especially platform holders, are forced to course correct and change the way they approach development to fill the gap now?
I mean, they have to. So, you know, with these reports that PlayStation 6 is looking to be on the more affordable side of things, or at least keeping those hardware costs down, is because your competition are these games, especially in the free-to-play market, that can work on lower-end hardware, that can crucially work on phones, stuff like Genshin. PlayStation still catering to that high-end single-player market. But if you take 7 years to make a game every time, that's not going to print the money. And also, live service is not going to print the money because that market is so overly saturated. And so there will be that doubt. I will say that it's just because right now the PS5 seems, PS6, sorry, seems a little far-fetched.
Yeah.
Unnecessary, maybe. It didn't feel like that way to the end of the PS4 lifecycle. PS4 felt like it was squeezing every single thing out of that machine, whereas PS5, it's like, this bad boy's still got a bunch of stuff going on.
It does feel like there's so much unused potential. I think Sony, unfortunately, they're in the two worst positions to be in right now, where they make games, or they put their eggs in two baskets that are just not in a good spot, where free-to-play games is one of them. They have a bunch of those in live service games. And that market, as you know, High Guard and various other games have proved, is so competitive. Even if you have a good game, you could fail monumentally. That's a difficult place to operate in. And then the other one is the single player high-end games that they seem convinced is their thing and the only thing they're capable of making, but cost so much and take so long. And again, if you're maybe making 3 or 4 of those, you are betting on those. You have to bet on those being amazing. That middle ground, Sony just doesn't play in anymore. And that is a massive, massive issue, especially when you have a life cycle of a console going further and further away. Especially when you're putting studios that should be making those games out of work. Blue Point should have been making something in between. Like that takes like 2 or 3 years to make and is like a AA game or, you know, punching above its weight type game.
Do you think stuff like Sons of Sparta, the new God of War, Metroidvania, is an attempt to play in that?
I think based on what we've seen and played, Sons of Sparta is an attempt to leverage the God of War IP to make some money more than it is an earnest, honest effort to make a different kind of God of War game. I played that game and I don't know why is this $30? It doesn't have any of the spirit of that game. Like, it's not like it's like Chains of Olympus or Ghost of Sparta, the PSP games that you could feel this is meant to be a God of War game. If you told me this was completely unrelated to God of War and then they retrofitted it to be God of War, I would believe it. It feels like they're trying to leverage an IP, which is another mistake. You can't be doing that. You can't be, it builds bad will, like ill will amongst, if you're taking one of your most treasured franchises and then just crapping out something that's not living up to that, you're cheapening the whole thing and you're annoying all the fans, which is how a lot of fans seem to be responding to it.
PS6, I know we'll be hearing more about things like, and especially reports as they come out with things like the new Xbox. Rumors that, hey, or people asking the question, is Nintendo gonna raise hardware prices? PC, if you have a PC, hold on to your PC. Stay in line, don't buy new stuff.
I had a moment the other day where I forgot about the RAM stuff and I was in an Uber home and I had one of those thoughts which was like, what if I built myself a new PC? And then I went online and it took me to the point where I looked at how much it would have cost, the RAM, that I realized, oh no, we are screwed. It is, I think someone reported it, the prices for RAM went up 75%.
Did you see someone had a wedding and they put like PC parts on their wedding registry?
Mate, you're more likely to get a bunch of people paying for your wedding than to buy used computer parts.
I don't know, unless it was like, hey, here's my donation fund for my wedding. Go straight to PCPartPicker.com.
The Nintendo stuff is going to be interesting as well. It seems like Sony said they're currently positioned to meet the demands of PlayStation 5 for the next fiscal year. So if you're interested in PlayStation 5, for now, it shouldn't go up in price, hopefully, and it should be available.
They had big Black Friday deals, so maybe you'll luck out again.
Maybe we will get a situation here where developers figure out how to really ring the PlayStation 5 for everything, because that is when we got some of the best games on PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 and 4. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right, let us know what you think about the PlayStation 6. Are you interested in it? Are you happy with your current gen consoles? Let us know in the comments below. We'll be back again in a couple weeks. You can find me online, Lucy James Games everywhere.
I'm at Tomorrow. Let me know if you've got a Connect for RAM.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time.